everyone, my name is Kat, or the Free Librarian, and welcome to a new video, to a new vlog. It is Thursday now, and I wanted to open a vlog. This is not very long after I ended the last vlog, so I don't really have any updates, but I can already show you what my TBR for this vlog is going to be. I have a lot of things because I'm not entirely sure what I want, because initially the plan was to finish off some books or continue finishing the books that I had started in April, wasn't able to finish in April. Those being 1,000 Chips by Natalie Haynes. I need to prioritize this because this ebook will return itself to the library on Monday. So I need to get on with this. I'm 22% in, but it reads pretty quickly, so I think it should be doable. But that is something that I would like to be able to finish before I lose it. I'm also reading Dream of the Eagle by Manda, historical fiction, and I'm quite enjoying this. I'm this far into it. I had hoped to be like halfway by now, but that didn't happen. It's fine, but I would like to read a chunk of this. I don't think finishing is going to be realistic. I would love to, but I just don't think that it's going to happen realistically. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying this, so I would like to get quite a chunk of this read. And then the third one that I had already started is The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman, the second book in the Thursday Murder Club series. I'm not that far into it, but it was my intention to finish this week, because that way I could pair it nicely with another book that I think was going to be this week. It's a buddy read, and I have to check the actual schedule, but I'm pretty sure it's this week, and that is A Murder Was Announced by Agatha Christie. And we have like two murder mysteries combined, which would pair nicely. But this is a Miss Marple book. I really love this edition. I also own The Body in the Library in this edition, and there is a third one. The Body in the Library is green, and I know there's a blue one as well. And those are the only three that are currently out in this edition. But I really like these. They're in Dutch, so yeah. But I'm really excited about this. I haven't read any Miss Marple yet, but I would like to try it. So I'm really excited. I expect this to be a pretty quick read. But yeah, so those were initially the plans. I mean, the initial plan was that this would already be finished by now, and that Dreaming the Eagle, I would be a little further along into it, and so then I could focus on the two mysteries. But I suddenly felt this craving to read another book that is on my monthly TBR, but I planned to start like maybe next week, but part of me really wants to move it forward, and that is Bone Short War by Andrea Stewart, the third and final book in the series. I really enjoyed the first two. I'm so excited to see how the story ends. I had a book club discussion saved for the second book that I didn't watch because at the time it happened I hadn't read the second book yet, and then I read the second book, but I deliberately saved it until right before I would start this, so I would have like a refresher and a reminder of everything that happened. So I'll listen to that and then probably start this week. I am so excited about this. I have heard some mixed things about this, that like the ending might be a little disappointing, but I still have high hopes for this, and I wanna finish it. So like if you look at all the books together, it is quite a lot, like but like it's a lot. This is not what I read in a week at all, but I honestly, I'm not actually that much in the mood for 1,000 Shades. Like, I'm liking it a lot and I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's a good book. Well, I have some issues with it, but primarily I think it's a good book, but I'm not really in the mood for it. Like, I'm gonna keep it because I don't have another ebook currently, and on the train I like to read an ebook. But I'll see if the mood comes back this week. If not, then I think I'm just gonna let it go back to the library. So yeah. And then I do think that these two will be fairly quick reads. Also, like, the font in this one is really massive. So like it looks a decent size, but like the text is huge. So that'll be fine. And I don't need to finish these two. I would just like to read some of them. So like if you take that all into consideration, it feels a lot more doable. So it's a really exciting week. I'm happy. So yeah, I'll talk to you once I've read some of these, and I have an update to give you. Bye. So it is now Friday. Last night I watched some reading sprints, and those took me to the halfway point of Dreaming the Eagle. I'm now, this is also the point where I stopped reading. Like, I think I went like a little bit further than this last time, but not much. So like this is roughly the point where I stopped. And I'm really enjoying it. I find it hard to talk about it because this time around when I'm reading this book, my brain is like vibing, but it doesn't have much like actual thoughts. But I'm enjoying with it. I'm really liking it. I like, yeah, the way it's written. It feels very evocative, and I feel like I'm really in it. We just had a pretty emotional thing happened, which I remember last time feeling that it should affect me, but then it didn't. This time around it did a lot more. But I think we have this thing happening, and then we have like 2 pages of aftermath of this thing, and then we have like a time jump, and I think that also, like, those 2 pages may not be enough to truly sit in the emotion and like let it linger. I feel like the time jump right after that is making me less like, it doesn't really give me time to really be sad about this sad thing that happened. So I think that you know, I think that I wish that the time jump wasn't there. other than that, I'm really enjoying it. So I'll continue reading. I'll probably be reading this during the weekend. I plan to do some reading during the weekend, and I would like to get a decent chunk of this read during the weekend, but I don't know if I am going to be able to, because there's this other, I have been really craving like Scandinavian detective fiction for like a few days now, and I think that this weekend I'm just going to lean into that, and I'm going to pick up one, and I think I know which one, and that is Springtide by Cille and Rolf. Börjlind. The name is a bit hard to pronounce, so my apologies. But this is the first book in a series, and we have Olivia, who is studying at the police academy to become a detective, and she has an assignment where she has to like look into or like write something about a cold case, and she picks a case of a woman who was brutally murdered on a beach somewhere in the 80s, and she looks into it, and she wants to interview the detective who initially worked on this case, but he disappeared. Like, he's just gone, no trace of him. And so, yeah, she is sort of looking into this cold case, trying to find this detective, blah, blah, blah. The series is, I can't remember what their names are exactly, but like the names of the series is like the two of them as a duo, so I assume that she's gonna find him and that they together are going to be solving some crimes throughout the series. But I'm really looking forward to it. I really like this premise. I have been craving this vibe because, like, if you've never read a Scandinavian detective book before, they're like a very distinct vibe that I haven't really found anywhere else. So I'm really looking forward to it. That was like the vibe that I was craving. So I'm just gonna lean into that. I'm gonna read that during the weekend. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. I'm just gonna, yeah, be happy and do that. Maybe I'll read a little of both. Maybe I'll just be reading the detective book. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I'll let you know how it went on Monday. Hi. I've been terrible at updating, like absolutely terrible. It is Wednesday, and I'm probably gonna end the vlog here. Like, this is probably gonna be the last clip of a vlog. So yeah, let's get into it. First, I read a comic, which is Pour l'honneur de Macchawari, the first album in the Castan series by the brothers Morellon. This is a historical fiction set in the 17th century in the Bay of Bengal, and we have some like French marine sea people, but they get captured by pirates to be sold as slaves, but then stuff happens. They end up in this like warrior school to become great warriors of this country. And yeah, we see what happens there. I really enjoyed this. I liked our two main characters. We have one of them who was like his father was the head of the ship they were initially on, but his father dies at the beginning, and so he's technically the boss. He's a nobleman. He has a lot to return to in France, and so he wants to go back. And then we have this other guy who was just a crew member. We also get his POV, and he doesn't want to go back because, like, he doesn't really have anything to return to, and life as a soldier isn't all that bad. And so we have sort of this conflict between the two because they are like have become friends, and they like want to stay together as well. And so we have this conflict of what do we do. So I really like that. So the first few pages I was struggling a bit with the art style, but it grew on me as I read. I'll show you the first page. It was like this. I don't mind like the landscapes and the buildings and stuff because that's something that I'm not too picky on, like usually like it. But the way people are drawn, I can be a bit picky on about sometimes. So I didn't love it, but it definitely grew on me as I continued reading. I really liked the plot. It was really tense, and I felt the stakes. What I also really liked, so we have these two characters that we get their POV, and when we are in their POV, we get like this white border around it, but when we're outside their POV, they're like brief sort of interludes almost. They have this black border, which I thought visually was really useful and really helpful. So I really like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I had a great time with this. I gave it 4 stars. I really want to continue on with the series. There are currently 4 albums out. The 4th one is on their way is on its way. When I looked up the series, I saw a pre-order link for the 4th one, so it's gonna come pretty soon. So I definitely have more in the series to read and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, it won't be long until you see me more of this series, probably. Then I tried continuing The Man Who Died Twice, but it had been too long since I started it. I stopped like only like 50 pages in or so, and while I would still remember the plot, like I didn't remember any names, so a name would come up and I would have no clue who this person was and would be really confused. So I'm just gonna start this over because like I remember the names of like the people who make up the Thursday Murder Club and of the like the police people who like they have a bond with and who help them and stuff. So like I remembered their names, but yeah, things specific to this case I forgot. So I'm gonna have to restart this. I wasn't that far along, so it's not that bad, but that'll be something for next week. Then I did read some more of Dreaming the Eagle. I'm now this far in. My initial goal was to have it finished by now, but then I realized that wouldn't be realistic. So that I changed my goal to the end of part 3, and I'm still 80 pages short of that. So yeah, little I'm not, like, the second part isn't going as fast. Well, the second half isn't going as fast as the first half for me. So, part 2 ends in a battle. That, like, pretty much the entire cast of characters is involved in. So if I'm going to talk about the part after that, then you know that these characters survive. So if you don't want to know that, like, that's the only spoiler part that I would give. But if you really don't want to know that the name I'm going to mention survived this battle, then skip to wherever I'm no longer holding this book. So, the first half of the book is told from two perspectives, like Bon and Boudica, and that is still the case because they both survive the book, but they're separated, and they both think that the other person is dead. And so, Bon is no longer in Britannia, and he doesn't want to return because he thinks that everyone's dead, and that he doesn't really have anything to return to. And so we have a very hard scene there with him. Yeah, it's like the first half of part 3 is from his POV. The second half of part 3 is from Boudica's POV. But we know from the end of part 2 that Boudica is still alive, and because we started with Bon's POV, we know that he's still alive as well. And so yeah, there are things that are really, really hard to read, especially with Bon in his plot line. So that was quite emotional at times. And it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, so I'm really curious. Well, no, cliffhanger is not the right word, but it's set up for something very interesting. That's a better way to word it. And I'm really curious on how that would go, because I can see a few things that are going to happen and how, yeah, I can see how it continues with his plotline. Boudica, which is the perspective that I'm now in, yeah, hers is quite fun, actually. We have some trials. We have like, there is danger and there's like impending doom, but we're just like having these trials, and we're kind of having fun with them. Even though that they are dangerous, even though that people have died during these trials. So yeah, it's a bit of a tonal shift from before, but I don't mind it. And I think that the, like, more serious, more high stakes that I came to expect from this book is going to return afterwards. And it's not like it's like silly, goofy fun. It's still consistent with how the book is, but it's just a little lighter moment in the book, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm really having fun with this. I'm really curious how this continues, so I'm gonna try and finish it next week. I think that should be doable because I haven't finished a single book off my TBR yet, and we're already halfway through the month, which, yeah, well, so yeah, I'm gonna be finishing this. Then I mentioned that I wanted to start like a Scandinavian detective book, which I did. I started Springtide by Cille and Börjlind, the first book in the Rönning and Stilton series. So we have 3 plot lines in this we have Olivia, who is a student at the police academy, and she gets an assignment where she has to look into a cold case and say, like, if they would have had access to modern technology, what could have gone different, what could they have done differently. Like they have to write something about that. And she has a case that her father worked on. Her father passed away, so it's kind of close to her heart. But she tries to find more information, and she tries to find the other detective that works on his case. But everyone just tells him, like, he's gone, we don't know where. And so there's actually 4 plot lines. We also follow a guy who lived in Costa Rica for quite a while, but is now going back to England for some unfinished business. And it's kind of obvious that he probably is this detective. So I didn't really think of that as a separate plot line, but technically there is one, but I think that's pretty obvious. But then there are 2 more where we have some people attacking, just randomly attacking homeless people very violently, and then filming it and putting it on the internet. And so we have the POV of a few homeless people that has to do with, like, about that thing. And then finally we have this CEO of a big company who's about to win a prize. And so I'm really not sure how these 3 plot threads will tie together. I had a theory that a certain character from one of the plot lines, from like the homeless people plot line, would be the same person as one of the characters from the cold case plot line. But then as I continued reading, like, that became not impossible, but incredibly unlikely, so I abandoned that theory. But now I have, we've been given some hints on this CEO having a bit of a dark past, so that'll probably help tie him into probably the cold case, because it seems to be like quite a while ago. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I like the writing style. We have these really short segments. I'll show you a page where it's really, really obvious. If I can find one. So, like, you have here, and then you have a bit of a break, and then you have another one, and then you have a break again, and another one, and a break again. And that's always a switch of POV. And often I find if you switch POV that fast, it becomes very choppy and very jarring to read, but I don't have that in this book. That is probably because we're just keep switching back and forth, so it's basically 2 scenes that are happening at the same time that we're just switching back and forth between. That happened a few times, and so that helps with that. But even if we're, like, truly switching POV in those sections, it doesn't feel jarring for some reason. I don't know why it is, but it speaks to these authors being really good at their job. So yeah, I really like that. One thing that I do have as a bit of a and negative. Sometimes it's hard to really get a sense of location and to know where we are. Like, for example, there was once where Olivia was in her car, and the section ends with her driving off the parking lot. And then we switch perspective. Then we get back to Olivia's perspective, and so I assumed that she was still in the car. And then, like 2 pages into this new section, it was like, oh yeah, and she walked to her bedroom and sat on her bed. And I was like, wait, what? So I reread from the beginning of that section, and there was never an indication that she was now at home and no longer in her car. And so just like one sentence would have been nice to just know where we are, because that was like, oh, I thought we were still in the car, because she was just having a phone conversation with her mom. That was mostly what was happening. So I wish that would have been the case a little bit more. So that's something I didn't like. Also, just some dated language. When does translation come out? That might be interesting to see. It doesn't say. Oh, 2018. That's kind of recent. The book itself, the Dutch edition is 2018. The original Swedish is 2011. And so it makes sense that some things nowadays might feel a little bit dated in terms of language. Like, there is a woman that they call a slut, and so yeah, I don't like that. But some of that is just like very specifically the words in Dutch that we don't really use nowadays. They're not really a slur, but they're just a little bit like, we don't really use that word anymore. Not for a specific reason, but they just, if you use them, it feels just a little bit icky sometimes. So I do have that with this book, and I'm also not liking that. But those were really only like 2 instances that have happened so far. I'm about 100 pages in. So I'm still enjoying it. I still want to continue reading it because I'm quite liking it. And I think definitely as we move like to more and more recent installments, that will disappear. At least I hope. So yeah, I'm really liking this book so far. So yay. And then finally, where is it? Here it is. I started A Murder is Announced by Agatha Christie. I'm like only 2 chapters in. I'm really not that far in. But this is a buddy read with Reading Nymph. So this is about, so I had this newspaper, and in this newspaper it's like advertisements and stuff, and in between all of those there is an announcement that a murder will take place on this day at this place. And chapter 1 is this newspaper just being read by a bunch of different people in this town, and how they react to it. And they all just assume that it's like sort of part of a game, and this is like the invitation to the game, and someone like, that's dumb, why would you invite people like that, and something is fun. But the people who live at this place don't know about like this murder or game or whatever, and so they're a bit scared. But well, some of them are scared, but the others are like, if you're gonna murder someone, like, you're not gonna announce it in advance in like a newspaper. Like, what are you talking about? It's really just some dumb joke at our expense. So we start off with just a bunch of people's reaction to this newspaper. But because the people that just read about it and assume it's a game or something, they all react in a pretty similar way. And so that first chapter just became really repetitive. It was like, person reads newspaper, one of them is like, oh no, this thing, and the other person is like, relax, it's just a game, blah blah blah. And that again and again and again, and I just was like, can we not can we not do this, please? So yeah. Also, this book first was published in 1950, I think. And like there is some talk about World War II that I'm not the biggest fan of. So yeah. You sometimes get that with slightly older books, I guess. But I'm really not that far in, so I'll read more of it next week. So yeah, that is all that I read. I finished only the comic. It would be bad if you start a comic and I'll finish it like within the same week. That would be then you're in like a serious slump, unless you're TNFing, of course. But yeah, I haven't really finished much lately, or like this month I've only finished like the comic and then stuff that I'd already started, which I would really like to finish some of these books. So yeah, but that'll be something for next week. Sorry if this vlog wasn't my best, because I just didn't update. But I hope you still enjoyed, and I hope you will be back in another video. Bye.